The Galactic Council's emergency session dissolved into chaos when the archival footage showed the Precursor Fighter, extinct for 15 million years, and the human technician in the back row muttered, "Oh God, mute that." I sounded terrible back then, Council leader. Zilax's head whipped around so fast, his ceremonial crest nearly detached. "What did you just say?" Emma Johnson, 28. Standard years old and currently wishing she'd called in sick to her AV support job, felt 47 pairs of alien eyes lock onto her position at the technical booth. Her finger hovered over the audio mixing board. That the recording quality is suboptimal. Repeat your exact words." Zilax's voice carried the kind of authority that had negotiated peace treaties between species who communicated through biochemical warfare. His three primary manipulator appendages were trembling. Emma glanced at the massive holographic display dominating the council chamber, where the grainy footage showed a sleek fighter craft identified by every database in the galaxy as Precursor design, confirmed extinct 15 million years before most council species had developed agriculture, executing an impossible combat maneuver through debris field. The audio feed crackled with weapons fire and a young woman's voice calling out targeting coordinates, a voice that sounded uncomfortably like Emma's, just younger. I said the audio quality could be better. Emma tried, knowing full well that 47 civilizations worth of translation technology had already processed her actual words and were currently experiencing what could only be described as collective software aneurysms. "You said Vexia," the Gentry quantum physicist who'd been presenting the footage consulted her data pad with 4 of her 6 upper appendages, while the lower 2 gripped the podium hard enough to leave impressions. "You said," and I quote, "Oh God, mute that." I sounded terrible back then, being the operative phrase, added Jiro, her research partner, whose bioluminescent panels were flickering through colors that Emma's briefing on Terran body language suggested meant experiencing existential crisis, as in referring to a personal past experience regarding footage that our most advanced chronometric analysis confirms is 15.22 million years old, plus or minus 50,000 years. Emma felt her face heating up. This was worse than the time her mom had found her old middle school poetry. "Look, can we just silence?" Zilax descended from the central disk, his 9FT frame moving with the kind of deliberate purpose that suggested he was either about to declare war or have a panic attack, possibly both. "This council is now operating under protocol Omega-7, full security lockdown. Nobody enters or leaves until we have answers." "What? I have dinner plans," Emma protested. "The footage you're watching," Zilax continued, his voice dropping to a tone that made the chamber's acoustic dampeners struggle, "is from the final battle of the Precursor Extinction War, the event that nearly destroyed every sentient species in this galaxy before any of our civilizations had evolved beyond single cellular organisms. The entities we're watching were responsible for 93% of all matter conversion in the observable universe during a conflict that lasted 6,000 years. He pointed one trembling appendage at the holographic display where the fighter craft was now deploying what the ancient records called reality severance weapons, armament so devastating that galactic law forbade even theoretical research. into their principles. And you're telling this council that you recognize the voice in this recording. I mean, Emma shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Recognize is maybe a strong word. It's just, you know how you hate hearing yourself in old recordings. Your voice always sounds weird, and the biometric analysis came back. Interrupted Kyle Thaws, the VIN military commander who'd been quietly running scans from his console. His combat hardened exoskeleton was making the small clicking sounds that Emma had learned meant acute stress. Voice pattern matched to audio. Technician Emma Johnson, human. Confidence level 99.97%. The chamber erupted. Impossible, shouted someone from the Deltheran delegation. Translators are malfunctioning, suggested another. We need to evacuate. The human might be a temporal anomaly. Everyone calm down. Zilax's voice cut through the panic. He turned to Emma with an expression that her limited xenopsychology training suggested was approximately 20% fear, 30% confusion, and 50% the look her dad used to give her when she'd tried explaining why she'd taken apart the family television. Clears throat. Technician Johnson, please explain in simple terms how your voice appears on a 15-million-year-old combat recording from a war that predates your species' evolutionary emergence by approximately 14 million years. Emma looked at the footage again, watching her younger self. God, was that really her voice? So shrill, execute a barrel roll that violated at least 3 laws of physics she could name offhand. She'd really thought she sounded cooler back then. More Top Gun, less squeaky teenager. Could I maybe just edit that part out? She asked hopefully. I've got some really good noise reduction software that could explain now. Emma sighed. This was going to be a long night, and she was definitely losing her dinner reservation. Okay, so remember how humans showed up in galactic civilization like what, 50 years ago? And everyone thought we were a new species. 47 species leaned forward. We might have fudged that timeline a little bit. Kathaz's armored grip on Emma's elbow was surprisingly gentle for someone who looked like he could crush a hull breach with his bare appendages. He steered her into a side chamber while the main council descended into what could only be described as organized hysteria. Sit. He pointed at a chair that had definitely not been designed for human proportions. Emma sat, her feet dangling 6 and off the floor. Is this going to take long? Because I have a reservation at this. Really nice. Explain the timeline. Discrepancy. Kyle's combat visor was running through scan cycles so fast it created a strobe effect. Use small words. Pretend I'm a hatchling. Okay. So Emma tried to figure out where to start. That footage is from my gap year. Your gap year? Yes, you know, the between finishing high school and starting college. I wanted to see the galaxy, have some adventures, figure out what I wanted to study. She shrugged. Pretty standard stuff. Kellaz's translator made a sound like it was actively trying to commit suicide. That footage is 15 million years old, right? Yeah, it was a while ago. Emma pulled out her phone. The motion made Kyle Ta's hand fly to his sidearm and started scrolling through photos. I think I still have some pictures from that trip somewhere. God, my hair was so bad back then. Back in the main chamber, Vexia had pulled up the audio waveforms on the holographic display, running them through every verification protocol. Known to galactic science, Jiro was cross-referencing with Emma's employee ID voice samples, perfect match Vexia. Announced her bioluminescent panels now. Strobing solid crisis red, not similar. Not close perfect, every harmonic. Every frequency marker, every she. Stopped consulting her readings again. This is the same larynx, the same. Individual vocal cords, the same person. Play the combat sequence again. Demanded Zilax, who'd activated every emergency protocol except the one that would evacuate the station, mainly. Clears throat because he suspected nowhere in the galaxy was safe from whatever was happening. The footage rolled. The Precursor Fighter now confirmed to be broadcasting on human comm frequencies, which was its own nightmare of implications, dove through weapons fire that should have atomized anything smaller than a moon. The voice came through crystal clear, weapons hot. Engaging might cover my 6, Sarah. Target those reality anchors, there. Maintaining the fleet's dimensional stability. Emma's voice, young, excited. Absolutely confident in a way that came from not yet understanding mortality. Oh, God, Emma groaned from the side chamber. Her enhanced human hearing picking up the playback. Did I really sound that cocky? So cringe. Kellas was staring at his tactical readout like it had personally insulted his ancestors. Your species has time travel technology. What? No. Emma looked genuinely confused. Why does everyone keep bringing up time travel? Because you claim this is you 15 million years ago. And you are clearly not 15 million years old. Well, yeah, obviously not. I'm 28. Emma found the photos she'd been looking for. See, here's me and my friends at the Galactic Core. That's Mike. He was always terrible at selfies, his thumbs covering half the lens. And that's Sarah. She stopped. Kellas held up one armored appendage. Show me your pilot's license. My oh, you mean my old one? Emma dug through her phone's digital wallet. I don't really use it anymore. I mostly just take the transit shuttle to work now. Gas prices are insane and parking in the station district is here. It is. She held up the holographic display. Kellas's visor nearly shorted out. The license was legitimate. Every encryption, every security marker, every biometric seal that galactic authorities had spent millennia developing to prevent forgery, all present, all verified. Issue date 152,847 years ago. Galactic standard. This is impossible. Kelthas whispered. I mean, the photo's pretty bad, Emma admitted, zooming in on her younger face. I had this weird bang situation happening that I'm not proud of, but the license itself is valid for another, wow, only 3,000 years. I should probably renew that soon. Kyle stumbled back to the main chamber, his combat programming unable to process what he was experiencing. Zilax took one look at his expression and activated the emergency beacon. Within minutes, the chamber filled with senior xenobiologists, temporal physicists, and historians who specialized in the precursor era. Each ran their own tests, each confirmed what their instruments were telling them, then ran the tests again because surely there was an error. There was no error. The human species, announced Dr. Realia, the galaxy's foremost expert on ancient civilizations, her voice barely above a whisper, existed during the precursor era, not as primitives, not as victims. As she consulted her data pad again, as if the numbers might have changed, as active participants in precursor level Warfare, I was basically a teenager. Emma protested from where she'd been. Escorted back to the main chamber still. Standing in her AV booth like this was a normal Tuesday. Of course I sounded terrible. Nobody sounds good when they're 18. It's scientifically impossible. You're concerned about vocal quality. Zilax said slowly, while we're processing the fact that your species has been lying about your origins for 50 years. Lying is kind of a strong word, more like selectively editing. Emma tried. Hopeful smile, which is actually my job. So this is kind of meta if you think about it. Emergency klaxons began blaring throughout the station. Clears throat. Great, Emma muttered. Checking her phone. There goes my dinner reservation. Do you guys validate parking at least? Supreme Military Historian Zyler arrived via emergency transport, his ceremonial war chronicles practically dragging on the floor behind him. He was old enough to have studied conflicts from before most species had invented writing, and he moved with a careful deliberation of someone who'd seen empires rise and fall. He took one look at the frozen frame on the holographic display, and his primary respiratory system failed. Medical staff rushed forward, but Zier waved them off. His eye docs fixated on the image. Play it all of it. They did. 15 minutes of combat footage, a single fighter craft human design. They now realized with creeping horror moving through a precursor armada like a scalpel through tissue paper. Weapons that could crack planets fired in volleys. The fighter dodged reality severance. Torpedoes launched in patterns that should have been mathematically inescapable. The fighter barrel rolled through impossible angles. And then the final sequence, the fighter releasing something that looked like a small star, and the entire precursor fleet, 6,000 capital ships, each the size of a small moon, simply ceasing to exist. Oh wow, Emma said, watching from her booth. I forgot about that haircut. So bad. What was I thinking with those layers? Zeller turned to face her with the slow mechanical precision of someone whose entire worldview was actively collapsing. You single-handedly ended the Precursor Extinction War, the conflict that killed 93% of all sentient life in the galaxy. The war we've studied for 10,000 generations as the ultimate example of cosmic-level threat. Response: I mean, single-handedly is kind of a stretch, Emma said, zooming on her hair in the frozen frame. Technically, it was a group effort. There were like 6 of us. Mike and Sarah were running interference on the flanks. James was handling the reality anchor disruptions. Chen was on electronic warfare, and Alex was, wait. Or was it 7? Did Marcus come on that mission? I feel like he had midterms. The chamber had gone so quiet that Emma could hear her own heartbeat. 6, Zilax repeated, his voice hollow. 6 humans ended the Precursor War. Well, 7 if Marcus was there, but I really think he stayed back to study. Where are the others? Koth roared, his combat instincts overriding 3,000 years of diplomatic protocol. Where are the rest of your warrior caste, your strategic command? They're around. Emma pulled out her phone. Let me ask the group chat. We're supposed to do a reunion dinner next month anyway. This is perfect timing. She started typing with her thumbs, that distinctly human gesture that every species found vaguely unsettling. You're texting them, Vexia said weakly. Yeah, how else would I? Oh, right, you guys do that whole formal Communication protocol thing. Now we just have a group chat, it's easier. Emma's phone dinged. Oh, Mike responded. He says she squinted at the screen. He says, lol, yeah, that haircut was rough. Emma, also I'm elbow deep in a waste recycling system. RN can this wait, Mike, Zyler said carefully, consulting his ancient records with shaking appendages as in Commander M. Chen, who executed the dimensional pincer maneuver that collapsed the Precursor's quantum supply lines. Mike Chen, yeah, he's a plumber now. Station 7, I think. He says the pay is pretty good and the hours are flexible. Another ding. Oh, Sarah's responding too. She says, oh, she sent a picture of her kindergarten class. They made macaroni. Art, that's so cute. Sarah Jotero whispered, his bioluminescence now flickering in patterns that suggested imminent system shutdown. Strategic Coordinator S. Martinez, the entity who planned the assault on the Precursor Nexus Fortress, the being whose tactical genius is studied in every military academy in the galaxy. Sarah Martinez. Yep, she teaches 5-year-olds on Riel. Third now, says she likes it way better than military stuff. Less stressful. Better retirement benefits, less stressful. Kolth looked like he was about to have an aneurysm. She commanded fleets of reality-breaking weapons. She orchestrated the siege of an interdimensional fortress, and now she's teaching kids their ABCs. Yeah. She's really good at it too. God. Teacher of the Year last cycle. Emma showed them a photo of Sarah, a cheerful-looking woman in her 30s, surrounded by small alien children holding up crayon drawings. See, she's wearing the medal and everything. Zar sat down heavily, his ancient bones creaking. The beings who saved the galaxy are a plumber and a kindergarten teacher and a librarian. That's Jamie. Oh, and Chen's doing software development. Alex runs a food truck, and I think Marcus finally finished his PhD. He was always the academic one. Emma kept scrolling through responses. Everyone's pretty busy with normal life stuff, you know. Normal. Zilex repeated numbly. Yeah, I mean, it was just a gap year thing. You do something exciting, see the universe, save civilization a few times, then you go home and get a real job. Standard young adult stuff. You went home, Ka said, latching on to the word like a drowning man grabbing debris. Where did you go home to? Earth. Well, it wasn't called that back then. We hadn't really settled on a name yet. It was still in that awkward phase between the dinosaurs dying off and mammals figuring out their whole thing. Emma noticed the collective stares. What you're saying? Vexia began, her voice remarkably steady, given that her entire scientific worldview was currently being used as kindling, that humans existed 15 million years ago, that you witnessed the rise of every civilization in this chamber, that you watched us evolve from single-celled organisms, that you've been what? Waiting. No, just living, you know, doing human stuff, evolution, agriculture, art, philosophy, really extensive arguments about whether pineapple belongs on pizza, the usual. Emma's phone dinged again. Oh, Marcus says he was on that mission and I owe him 20 credits for forgetting. Damn. Is this going to take long? Emma asked, glancing at the time on her phone. Because I really do have dinner reservations, and this place has a strict cancellation policy. Somewhere in the back of the chamber, a junior diplomat from the Korean delegation fainted. The full council assembly convened under emergency classification. Omega Absolute, a designation that had only been used twice in recorded history, once during the Precursor War itself and once during a false alarm about the Precursor War happening again. This, they were beginning to realize, was related to both project the humans communication device to the main display. Zilax ordered, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd accepted he was living in a fundamentally different universe than he'd woken up in. Emma's group chat appeared on the holographic screen, 40T. Tall, visible to all 47 species. Representatives. Mike Chen Law. Yeah, Emma always hated her combat recordings. Remember when she made us retake that whole battle because she didn't like how she sounded on comms? Sarah Martinez. OMG, yes, we had to fight that dreadnought twice because Emma wanted better audio for the after-action report. Emma Johnson. It was embarrassing. Okay, Jamie Foster, you were literally ending an extinction-level war and you cared about audio quality. Emma Johnson. Presentation matters. Jamie Alex Kim. Wait, are you in trouble? Do we need to come get you? Emma Johnson. No, just sitting in a council meeting where everyone's freaking out because they found old footage. Sarah Martinez. Oh, that's so funny. We should do a reunion. It's only been 15 million years. We're overdue. Marcus Webb. I have a faculty meeting on Thursday, but I'm free Friday. Mike Chen. I can move some appointments around. Anyone know if that Thai place near the galactic core is still open? The council stared in collective horror at what was possibly the most casual conversation about cosmic scale warfare ever recorded. How? Zeller's voice cracked. How did your species survive 15 million years? Civilizations rise and fall in thousands of years. Millions are geological epochs. Evolution reshapes entire planets. How are you still you? Emma looked genuinely confused. Survive. We just lived. That's kind of what species do. That is not what species do. Vexia's bioluminescence was now cycling through colors that didn't have names. Species evolve. They change, they adapt or die. They don't just casually exist for 15 million years while maintaining the same basic physiology. And she stopped running new calculations. Your technological level. You have smartphones and fighter craft with reality severance weapons. That's not a 15 million year technology gap. That's we had the good tech back then. 2. Emma said the reality severance stuff, dimensional folding, consciousness transfer, all the fun toys. We just don't really use them anymore. Seems like overkill for daily life, you know. Walk us through it. Zilax said, his tone somewhere between command and plea. After the Precursor War ended, what did humanity do? Emma shrugged. We went home. The galaxy seemed pretty quiet after the precursors were gone and Earth was going through its own stuff. Dinosaurs had just had their whole extinction event. Mammals were figuring out their niche. Ice ages were coming and going. We had a lot of planetary housekeeping to handle, and you just stayed there, Kaz said slowly, on one planet for millions of years. Well, yeah, we figured the younger species should have their turn at the whole galactic civilization thing. You guys seemed excited about it. Emma smiled. It was nice watching everyone grow up. The Vin discovering faster than light travel was adorable. You were so proud of yourselves. Adorable, Kathaz repeated, his combat-hardened mind struggling with being patronized across geological time scales. We kept an eye on things. Emma continued, made sure nobody was going to blow themselves up or accidentally summon anything worse than the precursors, but mostly we just let you guys do your thing. Seemed only fair. You've been babysitting us, Vexia whispered, for 15 million years. The ancient protectors. We built religions around the mysterious benefactors. We theorized about the elder guardians. We assumed were myth. Okay, babysitting sounds weird, Emma protested. We just checked in occasionally, very occasionally, like every 100,000 years occasionally. Why come back now? Chitaro asked. After all this time, why reveal yourselves? Reveal? We didn't reveal anything. We just kind of showed up 50 years ago and applied for citizenship. Figured it seemed like a good time. The galaxy looked stable. Everyone was getting along pretty well. And honestly, Earth gets boring after a few million years. We wanted to see how you'd all decorated the place. Zilax pressed his manipulators to his face. The entire foundation of our understanding of galactic history is pretty much accurate, just missing the part about humans, Emma offered helpfully. Look, can I go now? This is getting weird, and I really do need to cancel those dinner reservations if I'm going to be stuck here much longer. The precursor threat, Zeller said suddenly. The reason we were analyzing that footage, we thought they might be returning. Oh, they're not, Emma said. With absolute certainty, we made sure of that very thoroughly. Trust me, they're super dead. The original crisis, the fear that had brought the council together in emergency session, dissolved like morning fog. I'll be more careful about which archive rooms I work in, Emma promised, and maybe double check that my old combat footage is properly labeled as do not play in council chamber. That seems like it would save everyone a lot of trouble. The galactic-wide announcement went out at 600 hours standard time. Humanity was confirmed as a precursor-era species. Ancient guardians who had existed longer than recorded history itself. By 6:30, the Council had drafted 17 new protocols for interacting with elder species. By 6:45, Emma had vetoed all of them. Please, don't do the whole elder species thing, she said, reading through the proposed documentation on her phone while a junior aide hovered nervously nearby. It's super weird and it's going to make family dinners awkward, but the protocols, Zilex began, are unnecessary. We're just people. We go to work, pay taxes, complain about traffic. The fact that we're older than your civilizations doesn't really change that. Emma handed the data pad back. Hard pass on all of this. We'd like to establish human advisory positions. Vexia tried, her scientific mind already cataloging the invaluable insights that 15-million-year-old beings could provide. Formal roles within the council. Structure your expertise could, yeah. I'm good with my AV gig, thanks. Emma interrupted, checking her messages. The pay is decent and I get weekends off. Your advisory position probably has terrible hours. Kaz leaned forward, his military bearing somehow both respectful and desperate. But you could guide us, help us avoid catastrophic mistakes. Your species has knowledge that, look, Emma said, pocketing her phone. Our whole philosophy is pretty simple. Let people figure things out themselves. You guys are doing fine. Yeah, you make mistakes sometimes, but that's how you learn. If we stepped in every time Something went sideways. You'd never grow as civilizations. But you could rule. Zilak started. Emma laughed, the sound echoing through the now quiet chamber. Hard pass. Too much paperwork. Have you seen your bureaucratic processes? I'd rather fight another precursor fleet. The council had sent formal requests to the other humans identified in Emma's group chat. The responses came back within the hour. Mike Chen, plumber, station 7, thanks. But no thanks, I've got 3 toilets backed up in a sewage man that's making concerning noises. That's a crisis I actually know how to fix. Sarah Martinez, kindergarten teacher. Riel, I. My kindergartners need me more than you do. We're learning about shapes this week, and honestly it's way more rewarding than galactic politics. Jamie Foster, librarian, Dim Colony. I have a book club meeting on Thursday. Can't miss it. We're finally reading the good sci-fi. The pattern was clear. Humanity's most powerful members, beings who'd saved the galaxy from extinction, who possessed knowledge and capabilities beyond comprehension, preferred mundane jobs and simple lives. The council was forced to accept it. Emma exited the chamber 6 hours after she'd arrived, checking her phone immediately. Damn. Missed my reservation window. Guess it's instant ramen tonight. She made her way back to the AV booth where 17 hours of council footage awaited editing. Emma settled into her chair, pulled up the audio mixing software, and started scrubbing through the recording of today's session. When she reached her own panicked explanation, she grimaced and hit the mute function. I still sound terrible. Some things never change. She worked in comfortable silence, trimming clips and adjusting levels with a practiced ease of someone who'd done this job for 3 years and saved civilizations for considerably longer. Her next project folder caught her eye. Documentary Precursor War Final Edit. Emma hummed tunelessly, pulling up footage from 15 million years ago. File loaded, showing her younger self in the fighter cockpit, face determined, hair regrettable, voice calling out, targeting coordinates with absolute confidence. She watched for a moment, then smiled despite herself. At least my aim was good back then. She turned back to her work, just another AV technician on another Tuesday, older than mountains and content, with her coffee and her editing software and the quiet satisfaction of a job done well enough. Some things she'd learned over 15 million years didn't need to be complicated.